The Hawai'i Sports Radio Network on 95.1 FM and AM 760 presents Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ule Agbayani.
Good morning, beautiful people. It's Wake Up in the Den. Ku'ule Agbayani and Paul Brecht. Happy Aloha Friday. Hope everyone is having a fabulous day and you had an incredible week. Another week just flying by and ready to take on the weekend. Woo, so much going on. We've been talking a lot of football this week and we will continue to do so. But we are definitely going to go to the pitch and talk a lot of football, as coming up in just a little bit on this show. We will hear from University of Hawaii women's soccer star Kelci Sumida, who Paul had a chance to, sit down and chat with her as part of our featured OIA grad series here on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, as she is a Moanalua High School grad, but of course kicking butt and taking names for the Rainbow Wahine soccer team. So we'll hear from her coming up a little later in the show. Also, I know we haven't talked a lot about that World Cup match between the U.S. and Netherlands, that 1-1 draw that is just like going pretty crazy. I mean, Paul and I kind of discussed it following yesterday's show. I think it just took me like a little bit of time to process what I saw, because it was just like all of you who are U.S. women's soccer fans. It was a little shocking, and not in the sense that we have this high expectation. I make the exact comparison to our high expectation that we have, say, for our UH men's volleyball team here. It's like it's either national championship or bust in a way, even though, other teams are getting better, just like other women's teams around the world, they're getting better. Their countries are investing more into their women's team because they see how dominant the U.S. has been. It doesn't really have a lot to do with that, with what happened. We'll get into the details coming up a little later on the show. But just the decisions and everything that went into it, it was just, it was not exactly the best thing to watch as a longtime U.S. women's soccer fan. But we will start off with some American football, as, oh my gosh, you guys. My stomach was in my chest and my heart yesterday on social media. It was kind of a big thing. I sent the tweet to my other half right away. I'm like, Joey B goes down, and non-contact looking injury. He was just kind of like rolling out of the pocket and then just starts like limping and then goes down. And all you can think about is the worst possible everything. I was like, he's done for the season. All of these things are like in your mind. Their head coach, Zach Taylor, said that it's just a calf strain, possibly maybe a tear. You don't know until you really examine it. If that's the case, we're looking at about a month recovery time. And that's the best case scenario, though. I'm still holding out that it could be worse, because I don't want to get my hopes up. I'm already sad, as we always talk about Joey B on this show. Got a lot of sports card investments in that guy, along with Jamar Chase. Hence why we talk about the contracts, and I don't really bring up T. Higgins much, because I'm like, it better be Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow.
Oh, they're paying those too. I'm not worried about
so
that.
At least unloading the cards so that they have the potential to stay together and hopefully bring a Super Bowl back to Cincinnati. But seeing Joey B go down, like, oh my. And then your heart just breaks, because we talk about the contracts and we talk about these guys getting paid. And then you see a guy who was set up, we just talked about it yesterday after the whole Justin Herbert deal, set up to be, if he doesn't take a pay cut, to be the highest paid quarterback, resetting the market once again, because he is more proven than your Justin Herbert, and then he goes down. Like, I can't, the emotions.
Well, that's where my thoughts went right away, was thinking about the contract that, unfortunately, in professional sports, and especially in these type of negotiations, those type of injuries, those type being season-ending injuries that we were all worried that it was right away, those type of things. I mean, think about how long the Ravens and Lamar Jackson held things out because of injury concerns and whatnot. that would be, should it have been an Achilles tear or something along those lines, that would have been the second major injury of Joe Burrow's NFL career. And at that point, if you're the Bengals, already a team who's not necessarily the biggest market, there are concerns about being able to pay everybody. How are you able to go into those conversations and be like, all right, $270 million essentially guaranteed over the next 5 years, 6 years, and you don't know. Your argument would be that he's been hurt 2 years of that, and it's just, I'm very, very glad that initial reports came out it's just a calf strain. Secondary sources have come out, say it's just a calf strain. I hope it's just a calf strain, just for the matter of the league is better when Joe Burrow is healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it is.
And we could be looking at a situation like how we talked about with Tua, hence why they picked up his option, fortunately, but there is any type of discussion about a long-term deal because he hasn't been able to stay healthy. He's coming off of the last season, worried about the head injuries. So it would be the same with Joe Burrow, where they already did pick up his option, but now the discussions of a long-term contract would pretty much cease as it is. But okay, it's only a calf strain. Hopefully, I'm still holding my breath though, because
it's always fair to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. That's probably the best way to live life in terms of protecting yourself against getting hurt from bad news.
Yeah, don't bring us back to, what was it, Paul, when I was saying that with Anelu Lafayette and his commitment. I'm like, I'm just gonna
Yeah. I think that was your phrase.
Yeah, hope for the best, expect the worst. No, but there are still a lot of other things I can't believe it. I wonder if I would be talking about the Jets as much as we do on this show if it weren't for you, Paul, and you being a Jets fan. But it's like they are pretty much the team that keeps on giving. Not only, of course, we're going to see more stuff as Hard Knocks comes around, because I don't have Jets fandom, so I'm not going to watch the Take Flight series on YouTube, but I will watch Hard Knocks, and we're going to talk about them a lot more, and then the whole Aaron Rodgers thing. But then that's almost like a direct tie for Paul and I, because Aaron Rodgers, obviously, Green Bay quarterback, I'm a Bears fan, hated the guy for a very, very long time. We talked about it yesterday, too, how he just seemed like the biggest butthead for a long time. And then now at the Jets, it's like he's a whole new man and a new personality. But we do want to talk about somebody else that was in that same division that may be following Aaron Rodgers and co. to the Jets in Dalvin Cook. And apparently, like Paul was saying before we jumped on air, that Jets fans are pretty disgusting in terms of how much they follow. Obviously, he means that in an endearing way, because he's one of the fans that will follow all of the crazy posts that, like, basically, like, I don't know, like detectives that are following these players. And that's what's going on with Dalvin Cook. I saw just on my general Twitter feed, like, people taking pictures of Dalvin Cook saying that he's getting on my flight that's going to, like, that New York area. And so by all accounts, according to our Paul Brecht here, who follows that team like to a T,
also disgustingly,
Dalvin Cook apparently will be a Jet in the next few days. And if and when he is, that team is going to become even more scary.
It's gonna be. It would be really fun to have a two-headed monster of Breece Hall, who we've talked about before his injury last year, looked like a guy who was going to run away with Offensive Rookie of the Year honors. And from all accounts, he's been mostly healthy as he's ramping his way back up, but the Jets do want to be kind of careful with him as he's working back from, like we said just now with Joe Burrow, a very serious injury, especially for a position that uses or at least has a lot more wear and tear on the knees. And also, I mean, in this league nowadays, you see a lot of teams going to a 1-2 running back punch. That way you can keep your guys pretty healthy throughout the year, pretty fresh throughout the year. You can ease Breece back. The reason I think he's going to be a Jet is more so because of what he said this morning. He went on Good Morning Football, which is on the NFL Network, and they pretty blatant or just flat asked him. He's like, hey, what are the chances you're going to sign with the Jets? And he was like pretty high, man, like pretty good. And it makes sense. They have a visit worked out for this weekend. I think Sunday technically is like the workout or whatever that he's, according to Rich Cimini of ESPN, that's the Jets beat writer for ESPN. He's going to take a physical today with the Jets, which is the start of really bringing him in. It would not shock me by the time we come back on Monday if we're talking about Dalvin Cook following Aaron Rodgers' footsteps and leaving the NFC North and coming to the New York Jets to try and compete for a playoff spot, an AFC title, and in the end, a Super Bowl title.
I'm going to be so Jay because we don't even know what to expect from the Bears. But at least in the studio, it'll be, and I can essentially, I still don't think I would cheer for Aaron Rodgers. But
there are way more fun people.
But, I think that offense would be, like, interesting. I mean, the Dolphins also, Jalen Ramsey went down, too. So we were talking about how you were concerned about the defense that the Miami Dolphins will bring in. And the Jets actually don't play. I mean, you open up the season with the Bills, that game is going to be fireworks. Like, that is going to be such a fascinating game to watch. Considering,
I'm so excited.
I think all NFL fans, I'm excited because considering how good the Bills have been, even though I think their quote-unquote prime is done, how good they've been, and then now this new look, essentially Jets, but at the same time, the Jets were on their way up even before the whole Aaron Rodgers thing, possibly Dalvin Cook, and both offensively and defensively, I mean, just a reminder that they have the rookie of the years on both sides of the ball, so that's a testament to the Jets where they were before Aaron Rodgers. And then now you have the Bills and the Jets. They don't play the Dolphins, though, all the way until November for the first time, which is an interesting schedule. They play them November and they host the Dolphins first, and then they go to Miami in December. So it's a really close turnaround, which is something that would be interesting to see as well. Like if you have a healthy Tua Tagovailoa that whole time, he's getting his legs under him. Hopefully that defense kind of shores up a little bit more as well. And then we don't know how the Jets offense is going to be. So both those games, you have like that opening, once again, barring everyone stays healthy, because you just don't know in the NFL especially. But
just
that is just going
right.
to be, that AFC East is going to be very, very fun to watch. And then, I mean, you have the Patriots that,
until Bill Belichick retires, I can't disrespect the Patriots. Like, it's just the simple fact of the matter. I cannot disrespect the Patriots until that old son of a gun is out of there. I see him in my nightmares. It's what Darnold say, something about I'm seeing ghosts out here, man. Me with Bill Belichick for the last 21, 22 years of football fandom. It's ugh. But no, their talent is the worst in the division, but they're still going to finish like 7-10. Like, they're not going to bottom out as a team, which is crazy. I say 7-10, and that's like their floor. It's I don't know, man. The AFC East is going to be brutal. I also do want to acknowledge Dalvin did also say on his appearance on Good Morning Football today that it would be kind of like a Cinderella story for him being a Florida kid playing for the Dolphins. Though it has seemed far more that it's his camp are leaning towards being a New York Jet over a Miami Dolphin.
Sorry, that was an interesting background sound.
I heard it and I was like, ooh. Lost my point just for like a millisecond. I was like, ooh, bring it back. We're
going to start giving you guys an insight to this story, as it is our YouTube Friday show. So we got the cameras recording, so you guys will be able to watch this throughout the weekend. And Fashion Friday, by the way. So I am sporting my USC hat because we officially, I know we always talk about us being the USC station and whatnot, and especially we'll have every single Trojans football game coming up in the fall. But we just officially renewed with them yesterday to be their one and only affiliate here in Hawaii. So all of you USC alums, fans, the last year of USC being in the Pac-12, so you Pac-12 fans that are still remaining, you can listen to those games right here on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network. We'll have from all the way from the pregame to the postgame. So I am sporting our USC hat that we actually got from them a couple years ago when we became the official flagship station out here in Hawaii. But anyways, like I was saying, why Paul and I kind of lost our thoughts there for a little bit. If you guys heard the traffic report, there is a power outage in Kalihi, and this is where our studio is. We're in the middle of Kalihi, right next door to Richie's Drive-In, for those of you guys who know where that is. And so when the power goes out, the essentials is what gets backed up with the generator. So obviously that's how we're able to talk to all of you beautiful people still. Our radio stuff works, everything works. But a lot of the general outlets and the air conditioning once again does not work. Well,
not everything works.
Well, the air conditioning in like the individual studios, because the air conditioning in the rack room where all the essentials are and a lot of electronics and the heat goes down, that needs to make sure it stays cool. So the air conditioning there works. So in our hallways, it still feels like a good breeze. And but so we had our door open for the studio. You can't see in that direction for the camera, but it's to if you're watching the video later, it's to my left where the door was. And so there was another studio that something had played, and I was like, whoa. So we had to shut the door because yeah, that was fun. But it's okay. It's Aloha Friday. It's party on this Friday.
I felt like Star Wars-ish vibes from what I was hearing, like, because I can only hear it ever so slightly over the headset, and I'm like, I can hear myself, and which is always a trippy experience. Yeah. But I heard that, and I was like, am I in the movie theater? What's going on here? And I'm glad you took care of it very quickly. Heads up movement by Ku'u here in the den on this Aloha Friday.
And then as I was like reaching for the door thing, I just thought, like, how funny would it have been on the video although the video was faced towards you, but I just thought of it last minute because I'm attached like to the table by the headphones and the cord. So, and I didn't take my headphones off. So it would have been full on like cartoon vibes, like, it's just... Anywho, I'm going to take a step aside to collect ourselves now, as this is already, we know every Friday we always get weird. It's going to be a fun time, but we love to have you guys along for the ride. So we'll be back on Wake Up in the Den.
Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den. Ku'ulei Agbayani, Paul Brecht, dance party on this Aloha Friday. And I'm not even kidding. I posted it on our social media once. I'm going to have to post it again. Our dance parties that go on here. And it's not, I kid you guys not, it's not just for the YouTube when the cameras are on. It really happens almost every single break. That's why we picked like all the fun music, that just keep it fresh, keep it going. All right, so switching from the American football field to the football pitch, Paul Brecht had a chance to sit down with Kelci Sumida, one of the stars on the Rainbow Wahine soccer team and a Moanalua high school grad. So as part of our series to talk to some of the Hawaii school grads who are doing their thing at some of the local colleges and universities here. So this is how the conversation went. It's just like probably only half of it starts off by just Paul asking how Kelci got into soccer.
Back in high school, and maybe even a little bit before then, can you tell us how you got into soccer in the first place?
I started playing soccer when I was about 4 or 5 years old. So kind of just got put into it. And I played a lot of other sports growing up too as well. But I think over the years, soccer has always been one of my favorites. So that's the one that I stuck with.
If you don't mind my asking, what other sports did you play growing up? Or are there too many to recall?
I played like basketball, baseball, soccer, volleyball, tennis. And I think that's kind of it. But I wasn't that good at that one, so yeah.
As you went on with your soccer career, obviously it's gone pretty well. I mentioned you also were a volleyball player back in high school. Did you feel as though playing other sports growing up, and especially volleyball later on in your development in high school, Did that help you at all on the soccer field and vice versa? Or did you think that you needed to focus more attention on soccer as you went on in life?
No, for sure. I think volleyball or playing volleyball definitely helped me with like other aspects of the sport, such as like explosiveness and being able to like jump for headers and all of that kind of stuff. So I think that I'm really glad that I didn't specialize in soccer until like pretty late in my high school years. So I think like overall, it definitely helped with a lot of stuff for soccer.
It makes sense. I think you hear the same sentiment from a lot of athletes who grow up playing multiple sports, talking about the benefits of being a multi-sport athlete. And then I'm curious as well. I mentioned you had a twin sister. Did you two both play those sports growing up, or did you each kind of have to find your own path in terms of those sports growing up, though you did come back together to play soccer?
No, we pretty much did everything together. So whatever I played, she played. And like even for volleyball like that, she was always on my team for that as well. So yeah, we did everything together.
And so doing everything together, part of that I mentioned was playing soccer together in high school. You guys were pretty successful, it seemed, at Mauna Lua in that time. When you look back, do any memories stick out, whether it was, playing with your sister, like a specific story, or is there something that you took from that time that you remember so vividly now still?
I think one of my favorite memories of like high school soccer was, so she played like defense, right? So like we were on like kind of opposite sides of the field. But I think that whenever I scored a goal, she would be the first person that I would see that would be like celebrating. Like she had this little like jump celebration that she would do where she ran with like her hands in the air and all of that kind of stuff. So I think that was one of my favorite things. Like if I scored a goal, I would look for her first to celebrate with. And yeah.
That's really cool. A family ordeal. I have to imagine that it was fun for your family and friends as well who knew you both. And I want to keep the conversation at Mauna Lua. As you look back at that time, how did both athletically and academically the school prep you for UH and your college careers in the classroom and on the pitch?
I think Mauna Lua High School is like a great school, both academically and athletically. So I think that I was really lucky to be able to go to such a great school and to have them prepare me for both the academic side and the athletic side, because I think that they had really good teachers there that helped me to prepare for college courses and all of that. And on the athletic side, we had a competitive program that helped me to adjust to kind of that speed of play and that physicality that college soccer brings.
And you mentioned college soccer, and I'm glad you did, because that's where I want to go next. Obviously, a recruiting process as you went into it. You played Division I soccer. I would imagine that was a dream growing up as a young soccer player. One, was it a dream? I probably shouldn't assume. And two, take us through the recruiting process. How did you end up becoming a Bow in the end? Did you consider other places, either here in Hawaii or on the mainland, or was it always UH?
Yeah, playing D1 soccer is always like a dream for every like little girl growing up playing soccer. So my recruiting process was kind of interesting. So at first I was actually committed to a different school. I was committed to Portland on the mainland. And a lot of my recruiting actually had to do with my twin sister as well. So at first we both decided that we wanted to go away and go to the mainland to try and play. So we didn't have to end up at the same school, but we wanted to be somewhere that would be like kind of close to each other, or where we can still see each other all the time. But so at first we decided on the mainland, but then she changed her mind and she decided to commit to HPU. So that's kind of how I wanted to change my commitment, and I wanted to stay home and play for UH as well.
So originally, how close was UH in winning out, or was it really just wanted to go mainland versus stay home, and you wanted to just kind of stay together? It was just kind of you guys wanting to stay together?
Yeah, first I was kind of set on going to the mainland, but we were up there for one of like a Surf Cup event in California. And I was like, oh my God, like I'm homesick already. And I was like, if I'm homesick now for like we were gone for like maybe 7 days. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to last in the mainland if I wanted to like live up there the entire time. So that's kind of when I decided to make my decision, and I emailed Coach Bud, and like 5 days later I was committed.
It seems that it also worked out for both sides. I'm sure Coach Bud was pretty happy to bring you on board. I mentioned at the top, you've had yourself a pretty successful 3 years thus far. And can you take us back to the OIA part of it? Recruiting going into college, were there any struggles or benefits when it came to exposure when you were at an OIA school? I know you also played a year of club soccer. Did you feel club soccer was a necessity for you to end up playing at the next level?
I think both had their roles in helping me to play at a competitive level. So I definitely have all positive things to say about playing at an OIA school. Like, I think that it gave me a lot of exposure in the same way that playing for a club team does. So I think that both experiences have helped me to get to where I am now in the college soccer.
As you've experienced so much now, including a global pandemic during that time, if you could go back to that high school senior who had just graduated, who's going to UH for the first time, is there any advice you'd give her? Is there anything you'd warn her about that you'd want to try and get her ready for? Or would you want things the same exact way?
I think the only thing I would tell her is to hit the weight room, you know, like I didn't really start lifting until I got to college, and that probably showed on the field. Like, yeah, I would definitely say start lifting weights, and yeah.
It's a good piece of advice for all athletes out there, I think. What's it been like staying home? What's it been like having the support of the people here? And like you mentioned, not having to go through maybe that homesickness that you would have on the mainland at mainland schools.
Yeah, being able to play in front of my friends and family is definitely one of the biggest factors that made me commit to UH. Like, I think that my mom, my dad, my grandparents, my aunties, uncles, like they all come to like all of my home games, and my mom and dad come to all my away games as well. So just being able to have that kind of support, like I'm really lucky, and definitely is one of the biggest things that, or why I wanted to stay home and play for UH.
So I think the biggest question now is, who cheers the loudest? Is it an auntie? Is it an uncle? Your mom?
Yes, she's like the whole crowd could be cheering, but like she has like a distinct voice. Like that would be the one voice that I can hear. It's always run faster or something like that. Like it's the one voice that I'll be able to hear.
I'd imagine that's probably a good thing most times. Motivation or something like that.
Yeah, motivation.
Bringing us back full circle. We're going back to Moanalua. Is there anybody that you can think of? Is there anybody who stands out to you? A teacher, a coach, a janitor, whoever it may be, that you just want to give a shout out to, who helped you get there or get here today from Moanalua?
I would definitely shout out my coaches, Coach Nikki, Coach Janet from Moanalua. I think they helped me a lot in my development, and they helped me to get confidence on the field. So definitely shout out to them.
All right, and that was Kelci Sumida, Moanalua High School grad, and now a star on the Rainbow Wahine soccer team. So that was only half the interview that Paul had with Kelci. So if you want to check out the full interview, you can go to hawaiisportsradio.com or wherever you get most podcasts, and you can hear the whole, I think it's around like 20 minutes from Kelci Sumida. So those were just the snippets, and hopefully we can have a chat with her twin sister, Kaylee. You know, obviously she went to Moanalua too, so another OIA, or maybe it would be fun to have them like in studio or something.
Yeah, get them at the same time.
Yeah.
Because, especially because they play on opposite sides.
Yeah.
Where, Kaylee obviously on the defensive side and Kelci up playing striker, scoring a bunch of goals. Different mindsets. I have to imagine it'd be a pretty cool conversation. Or at least I am curious to see if I could get Kaylee's thoughts on the same experience, because
I would probably ask her, like, be honest, could you shut down your sister?
Yeah. One-on-one, who is winning?
That would be a fun one. All right. We got to step aside. When we come back, though, we will continue the soccer conversation, as Paul and I are both like former soccer players, and we do really, really love soccer. So we did watch that USA Netherlands tie game, but we haven't had a chance to really talk about it with all of you awesome friends of ours. So we'll talk about that next on Wake Up in the Den.
Back to more Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ule Agbayani on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to all of you, the beautifulest of all the beautiful people. It's Wake Up in the Den, Ku'ule Agbayani, Paul Brecht. Happy Aloha Friday! Friday dance party! Woo!
It's because you've put in these new songs I haven't heard before for our show, so now I've got an extra energy. Like you mentioned it, we're always dancing, but like when you get the new music in there, you got to hit it with the same energy, you know, some new energy.
Yeah, that's all we're all about this show. Sometimes it gets a little weird, as you guys kind of heard the first segment of the show,
That's
but
why
it's
the beautiful
okay.
people love us.
Yes, and that's why it's live radio, and that's why it's so fun that we get to kind of invite you guys at minimum once a week into our home as we have our YouTube videos that will go up. We at least try to record. Hello. Every Friday show, and sometimes like our in-studio guests that we've had from football last week and on Monday with Coach Shu. So you guys can always check that out on our YouTube channel, and make sure you like and subscribe as we are so much closer to 10,000 followers.
Drop us a comment too if you ever want to see somebody in studio. We can always try our best to get people. I say we. Ku'u has way better connections than I do, but I've got some connections
You
too.
do.
I'll try my best to get people on here.
You do.
But we seriously, comment, tell us what you want to hear. That's what makes our station so great is we try and interact with you, the beautiful people, as much as we can.
Yeah, and the easiest way to get in touch with us is actually you guys can text us at 808-888-KGU1. That's 808-888-5481. So you guys can interact with us that way, and we can text you back. So feel free to text us, and we can, give you a shout right back. We are going to, at the end of the show, we're going to close it out with something really funny on Twitter that you guys have to stick around for, because I got some comments, not a lot, but I can tell you the backstory with one of my comments just to have fun, take you into the weekend on the high note, and just hopefully some laughs. But first, going back to the pitch, although I can tell you a funny story right now, because we had that interview with Kelci Sumida, and I like had such a chuckle listening to it and putting the interview in when she talked about I think, Paul, you had asked her about her cheering section and everything, and then she was like, that her mom has a distinct voice when she yells, and then it reminded me of a funny story. I hope my dad's listening, because he'll get a chuckle out of this too. So when I was playing at Chaminade, and actually I think we were playing against HPU, and I was a center mid, and the HPU player got the ball, and I swear it was a clean tackle in my opinion. I went for the ball, wasn't my fault. The other girl went flying. So
Contact sport.
I got called for it, of course, but then my dad, being the type of guy that he is, when I first started playing soccer, was always like, don't let anyone push you around or push you off the ball. So then when I push someone else off the ball, he's in the stand, and he's like, that's the Hawaiian. It's like, oh my gosh. And I was just like, oh my goodness, I can't even right now.
That's the most dad story ever, though. Oh my God. Because I say, so my dad was my little sister's coach all throughout her varsity career. My dad was the varsity soccer coach for a decade. So I always think of him in the coaching role, but he was that way for my basketball career, because he got a chance to watch me, and he'd always sit right behind our bench. But, oh, man, anytime you do something that makes Dad proud, it's all, that's my boy, that's my girl. Especially when my little sister would do stuff and he wasn't coaching. Oh, man, nothing better than a Richard Brecht fist pump when he's fired up.
And then the cute thing, the irony too, is my dad, I'm Hawaiian on my mom's side. My dad's not even Hawaiian, but it's so cute that he's so proud that his wife and his daughter are Hawaiian, and he's just yelling, that's the Hawaiian. And don't even get me started on the basketball stories, because I tried out for the basketball team at Mililani just because that's, my dad's like, you're the only child, you're my son and my daughter, my dad loves basketball. I grew up watching basketball. I do love basketball. but I told you guys this before. I've only, played with the boys, like just pickup games, really no rules, no positions. You just kind of dribble, run around, shoot the ball.
How basketball is nowadays, actually.
Pretty much. You don't really stay in your positions or whatnot. But when I started playing in high school, and he was like so stoked coming to the games, and but I could always hear him too. Shoot! So that's why when Kelci was telling that story about her mom and like being able to hear her mom and have that distinct voice, I totally get it, Kels. Like I could hear my dad all the time in the crowd, like just that distinct voice. My mom is more, she's just really subdued. Like she doesn't really yell at games or anything. She'll clap, cheer, the general thing. But my dad will fortunately he's not the embarrassing parent in the sense that he doesn't get crazy. Like parents these days are nuts, like how they get a little out of hand at games. So he's a funny, loud and distinct cheering voice and still very, very encouraging when I was playing. But I just thought I'd share that with you guys because it was hilarious.
Yeah, there's an etiquette to being a crazy, awesome fan as a parent. You can go crazy, but you also can't embarrass your child to a point. Like you can embarrass them of yeah, that's my
Yelling,
mom, that's my dad. That's my parent. But then there's also you can't get to the point where you're getting kicked out of games and stuff, where you're insulting
referees.
Right, you're insulting officials and fighting with other parents from the other team. You can't be doing that. But if you're just screaming in support, that's the Hawaii. That's awesome. That's so fun. And that's what it's supposed to be.
Oh, but that was, I just thought I'd share. I don't think I've told you guys that story yet, so it's hilarious. But it just reminded me of that when Kelci's just saying, my mom has a distinct yell. I'm like, I get it. Yep. It could be a full crowd and stands, and I'm like, I can hear my dad yelling in either the gym when I played basketball or out in the open air on the soccer pitch. I'm like, yep, I can hear him yelling.
The funny thing is, I sit here and I was like, oh, Brooke probably, my little sister probably doesn't have those stories with my dad for soccer. Now that I sit here and I think about it, I'm probably that for her soccer career, because I was not a subdued fan. I made it to so I was in college while she played in her varsity career. I made it to every single game that I could, which was most of them. And you could bet that I'd be on the sideline either yelling at her to pick it up a gear or to give a little extra boost to the team. I was the number one super fan back in New York for my little sister. So it's funny now that I sit here and I think about it.
Wait a minute.
I was like, oh man, maybe I'm the one who pierces through the crowd. You're like, oh, Paul, shut up.
We got to ask her now. Was it your mom or your dad that you could hear? It was your brother.
It definitely wasn't my mom. My mom is the sweetest lady ever, but it probably was me now that I really think about it. Ugh.
All right, getting back on track, but just talking about soccer in general, I was actually going crazy in here, and I was doing work. So I where you guys see me on YouTube is kind of where I do my day work on my laptop over here. So I had the US Netherlands game up on my phone because we don't have our TV set up again yet. So I was watching it, and luckily for the most part the studios are soundproof because I was going crazy. That first half was almost in borderline, I didn't know what I was watching. This was not the U.S. women's national team. And I do want to give some credit to the Netherlands. They were taking it to the U.S. They were taking everything that the U.S. was giving them. They were giving, the U.S. were just giving them space. We talked about Demolo yesterday where, you can't let someone, their midfielder or whoever, dribble from halfway, the half point or midway field and all the way up to the top of the box. You need to close out, defend the ball, and they were just giving the Netherlands all this space, giving up that goal within 20 minutes. I think it was the 17th minute. First time the U.S. has ever trailed in the World Cup in forever. And they were just always caught off guard. I'm like, what the heck are you guys doing? And that was kind of the fear in, we kind of talked about them playing a Vietnam where, it probably should have been more, a 6-goal win, just because based on what our expectation is from the U.S. And then I remember telling you, I was like, this would be my fear, the fact that they didn't have the best showing against a lesser team, how they would fare against a team that is better. And this is what we saw, at least in that first half. And then the second half is just poor management. I'm like, what? Like, why are we not substituting? Only one substitution
And
in
it
that
was
whole
incredibly
game.
effective, too.
Yes. Like, that's the shocking part, I think, in terms of just game management. And a lot of the former players that on World Cup teams even came out and said the same thing. Like, you have like Julie Foudy and everyone saying like they didn't understand why there was only one substitution. You had Trinity Rodman. I remember seeing that, her getting the ball out in the wing, like, and she just looked tired, but the Netherlands were tired. So you switch last 15 minutes, like, you go.
Well, and the thing is, the possession. So I felt for the first like 10 minutes of the game, I don't want to say the U.S. dominated possession, but the U.S. felt pretty solid in terms of connecting passes, passing 2 feet, and their attack was solid. I mean, we were getting a lot of 3-on-3 breaks where, just look at the stats in itself, we were getting shots on goal. But the counter happened too quickly. The counter happened, and like you said, there's just too much space a lot of times in that first half where the Netherlands, they were able to take it from a lot of times their defensive third into the attacking third and have some sort of attack where the defense, or at least as a fan, it felt incredibly uncomfortable and unnerving as you sit there and you watch and you're like, somebody please step to the ball just a step sooner. And then on the goal, it felt as though the defense fell asleep because the ball was played into space, comes directly onto it, and a beautiful strike, by the way, a beautiful strike to play. Nothing you can do as a goalkeeper on the ground far post. Perfect shot. But it's stepping to the ball before that. It's not allowing the fundamentals to go into the shot to make sure it's perfect. That part of it was very frustrating. Then the second half, after they tied the game up, a beautiful header by Haran.
That was, I have to drop a quick note. I even texted her about this too. One of my best friends that lives out in California. No. Lindsay Horan like reminded me, like, right when that whole debacle happened, because if you guys didn't watch it, she got into it like with the Netherlands player, and then she like responded by a beautiful header, like really worked to get that header into the goal. But she reminded me, because like Horan looks very, like sweet and very, like, just, she has like a really cute smile and everything. And then she got like all mad and then just went and put in that header. But it reminded me of my good friend that I used to play with at Mililani. And I texted her, I was like, that reminded me of you. Like, she's really sweet. And then once you make her mad, like, you're like, whoa.
They poked the bear.
I don't know who you are anymore right now.
They poked the bear. And that's what you can't do. I thought they played far better in the second half, though there were, like you said, there were still little technical things that I would have liked to see better. But the good news is it's still round robin. It's still group play. And luckily, all you need to do is take care of business versus Portugal. And then you move on in top 2. And obviously, goal differential-wise, you would really, really like to finish first in the group, just because it makes your first-round game just a hair easier. Like, realistically, when you get to final 16, everybody's good. Everybody's good anyway, but when you get to the final 16, blah, 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 blah. It was stressful. It was a little bit frustrating to watch, but also we talked about this a bit yesterday, Ku, where this is a team that is, it's younger. They're learning. This is not necessarily the championship caliber or championship experience team outside of the few, Alex Morgans, the Megan Rapinoe, and so on and so forth, where it's not that stretch who have won I believe going into Wednesday, I believe it had been 13 straight World Cup matches that they had won. It's a little jarring to see them not win a game. And that's why, is because they had gone on such a run against the elite of the elite.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm curious to see how they respond against Portugal. I think it was a wake-up call to finish with a draw during the group stage, especially against a Netherlands team that they were motivated to play against going in. We'll talk about it further, I think, in the last segment, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on if the U.S. is still a favorite for the title, or if you need to see something in their third game to put them back in that sphere.
Yeah, I think I mean, as far as the odds, they are still the favorite. I checked it like yesterday, and they are still the favorite to win it all. However, I do think you just need to see a little bit more, and you just need to see a bit more like better game management. Like that's the part. Like use your substitutions when it should work. I mean, Rose Lavelle came in and she made a huge difference in that second half, and you're just waiting for other subs to come in. But fortunately, it was the draw. Again, if they win, their next game is going to be on Monday at 9 p.m. Hawaii time against Portugal. Portugal actually beat Vietnam 2-0. So take that how you must. But it'll be, it was so frustrating to watch the other day. Fortunately, for all of my Filipinos out there, the Philippines, aka Hawaii's team, they are still technically in it because they beat New Zealand. So it's pretty awesome to think that the Philippines, by the way, they are like the favorite. Also, I think all my Filipinos out there are getting their merchandise, because I saw on Twitter that like pretty much all the Philippine World Cup merchandise is gone, at least on location. The only thing left are like pins, and there aren't a lot left. So people are going crazy. I mean, first goal, first win. I need to go online and buy me some Philippines like World Cup stuff, because it's just historic, right? Like, and that's why we talk about our expectation for the U.S. team is like here, and then it's fun to like kind of live this joy that is the Philippines, because that's to them, they just won the World Cup. Just
it's
winning a game,
of being in the tournament,
scoring a goal,
winning
a game for the first time ever. I mean, you can't take that away, and I love it. But they still get chance. So that's the crazy thing, is that if you look at the scenarios, they do still have a chance because they had beaten New Zealand with that 1-0 win. So I don't know. It's going to be fun to watch. But the U.S., their next game again is Monday at 9 p.m. Hawaii time. But got to step aside. We'll be back to wrap things up on Wake Up in the Den.
Back to more Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ule Agbayani on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den. Ku'ule Agbayani, Paul Brecht. Happy Aloha Friday. Dance Friday, YouTube Friday. Make sure you guys, check us out on YouTube, as we will have this show, and we have a lot of other shows up there as well. Like and subscribe. Or you can always listen to the shows on demand at hawaiisportsradio.com or wherever you get most podcasts. Mahalo to all of you, everyone listening right now. I usually only do it at the bottom of the hour, but I'm feeling good today. You guys and the beautifulest of all the beautiful people that tune in and kind of hopefully get a chuckle off of live radio and when things happen. But it's supposed to be fun. We're having fun. We're having a good old time. And that's why I wanted to kind of close out the show with something fun so I got to tell you guys the backstory. So Jason Momoa was out at, I believe it was Costco Evale, and had kind of a meet and greet and promotion of his new vodka that I had no idea about. So my sisterhood text thread was going off about it. Like, oh, we should have gotten, like, someone should have volunteered as tribute to, like, wait in line. And, we could auction off one of the vodkas at our sisterhood social, the fundraiser, August 19th. Be sure you sign up. But, and I'm just like, I was thinking about it. I feel like I'm the only like Hawaii woman, and probably some guys too, that I don't think that Jason Momoa is like that hot. Like, don't get me wrong, he's definitely a beautiful man, but I'm like not obsessed. I feel like I'm the only local person that's not obsessed with Jason Momoa. I don't know what it is. It almost reminds me of reminiscent to how many years ago, like in high school or whatever, a lot of my friends were obsessed with like Channing Tatum, and I was not. I'm like, nah, it's all right. But anyways, on Twitter, I kind of posted this, like, some comments, and what is your unpopular opinion that may shock people? One of my friends were like, can it be an unpopular opinion and not shock people? And then she was basically saying, like, talking about the Cowboys and stuff, how they're like the best team and whatnot. But some of the other comments we got, so that was my unpopular opinion. I'm like, Jason Momoa is not that attractive. And again, this is opinion. Like, I admit, like, factually, he is a very good looking human and everything. And I understand why a lot of women think he's like,
He's conventionally attractive.
yeah, so I get it. But just my personal opinion, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I don't find him like how all women or talk about him. So some of the comments we got is funny because from Lori Santi, she said Tiger Woods is a butt. I'll just put it that way. Can't say it on the radio. And I was like, well, that might actually be more fact than opinion, depending on, you know, people's encounters with Tiger Woods. Brandon Tamanaha from Warrior Insider. By the way, follow Warrior Insider. They also post a bunch of good stuff for your UH football team. This was a funny one. He said, I would rather eat Taco Bell than an authentic Mexican restaurant.
I thought that was an interesting one. It's a hot take, but I don't think it's crazy. Like, I don't think it's out of this world. I don't necessarily agree with it.
But that's why it's an opinion. It's
right.
Like, yeah.
But also, I don't think it's one that you can hate on.
No.
Especially considering the success of Taco Bell and it just kind of continues to go up.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It is a hot take.
Yeah.
Maybe unpopular. But
I get it. I use the comparison almost like zippy spaghetti, right? Like, there are sometimes I would probably prefer zippy spaghetti over Italian spaghetti. Like, I get it. Zippy spaghetti is not nowhere near authentic Italian spaghetti, but I will tend to choose zippy spaghetti over Italian spaghetti sometimes, depending on what flavor you want. So I totally understood Brandon's comment where he'll prefer, because it's just the flavor palette is completely different. I was speaking to one of my good friends who does like authentic Mexican catering, and he said he will use Taco Bell mild sauce on things. Like, he just loves the flavor palette and the flavor of Taco Bell mild sauce. So yeah, I thought that was an interesting one from Brandon for chiming in. Like, it really, like Paul said, like, maybe not so much, it's a hot take, but you know what, I kind of get it. Like,
yeah.
And again, this is opinions. People are all entitled to their opinions. We have at Go Tear. Jolly Rogers had better sandwiches than W&M. I've never tried Jolly Rogers, so I don't know. He said going Dutch on a date isn't terrible. Those that don't know, it's basically where you pay your own way on a date. So I'm like, that's fair. I feel like I used to do that all the time. So, unless you get asked out. I mean, you gotta, be a guy. Like,
so
just
I'll
offer.
be honest. I don't like. I'm sure it's fine to pay your own way and whatever. I don't know if I can think of a time I've ever gone on a date and I didn't completely like pay for it. Especially like the first few ones.
Yeah.
Like those. I don't know. Like that's what I'd always do.
I feel like, especially if you're the one asking her out, then you're the one offering to take her out. Like, you gotta, but I get it. I mean,
communication in those are important though. I think it's really important if you're going to be like, hey, we're Dutching this.
I've been out of the game for a while, but back when like I used to go on dates, I feel like I would pay my own, but it was more. This is gonna sound so bad. It was more if I kind of already knew I didn't like the guy.
I was gonna say it's kind of a get out of jail.
Yeah,
free.
I didn't want him to pay for me. I would just like, okay, I'll go on a date with you, but I'm like,
thanks for tonight.
Yeah,
have a good one.
Cool. More from this person. Hawaii nightclubs are not nightclubs. Yeah, they're definitely not Vegas nightclubs. And I love the last one. This is a good one to take us through Aloha Friday. Every season, Hawaii football goes undefeated. Woo! That's a good one to end our Aloha Friday. Don't forget, practices the next couple of Saturdays for UH football are closed to the public, as now the electricity comes on and we gotta go. For Paul Brecht, I'm Kule Agbayani. Mahalo for listening. Bye!